As part of our strategy to make our water system more resilient and less dependent on a centralized source, today we're going to talk about tapping a side hill seep. So what's a side hill seep? You can see here we're standing downhill of one of the little ridge that sticks out into one of our primary pastures here. As we get about halfway up this hill, first thing we see is ruts where previous tractor traffic, some of mine, some older than our time here on the farm, made ruts in this field because they were going along an otherwise dry hillside and came across this pocket of water. So we can use this water coming out of the hill as a seasonal and maybe all season water source for feeding livestock remotely. And so what I've done here is I flagged the area where I'd say the water first starts to express itself down the side of the hill. And so, we know that's sort of the elevation at which water is flowing laterally. And that's what happens in a seep. Water's, trying to go downward, and it hits an permeable layer, like a clay layer or even heavy silt, that may be the case here. And then that water starts to move horizontally, and it comes out the side of the hill. So that flag marks what I call our origin. Then over here, just for reference, I marked a place that's a foot lower in elevation. You can see we really start to get squishy here. So in order to use that water more effectively, we need to go uphill. So I didn't take a shot before I started digging. I was anxious to see what I could see. What I've done here is, so now I took a point that was 2 feet above where the water is expressing itself, and I marked out a contour line about 20-30 feet in each direction that represents 2 feet above that seep. And up here, some of the surface is moist, and we've been getting rain, but it's pretty dry, typical of our sandy soils here that have been beat up on the hillside especially. But we start to dig, and we see 2 feet down, we found that water layer. And I just wanted to explore here before help showed up to make sure that this was a rational idea. And you can see now I dug this hole about 5 minutes ago. It's filling full of water. It's starting to ooze in from the side, so we know we're in a wet layer there. So I think that's a good sign that we're going to have something of a functioning seep tap here. Hard to say how long it will last. It's May 12 today, and it's wet in the season. The seep will look very different, come August and September. But I've walked across this hill before, and I see signs in my few summers here that this place is going to remain wet and may be wetter under the surface. And you see our plants, we've got equisetum growing here all throughout. And so that tells you that we're getting plenty of moisture here. So I left the hole sit for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and it's all caved in. You can see it's probably filled in with 10 inches, but plenty of water there on top. That caving in is one reason that we're not using big equipment on this project. There'd be no way we'd come back over and backfill this chunk here. It would easily just collapse in on itself. I think that what that means is I'm going to pull the sod out in each direction, and then we get close to the water, but not quite. And then we'll get ready to dig, bury the line, and get some backfill. Look at that water in there. You can see it churning and moving. I think if we can get this installed without collapsing the hill, well, we're going to have some livestock water for at least a couple months of the year in a place that's far away from the wellhead. Excellent. Okay, so now I've got the sod removed and more from the pattern of our tile system here. I brought the outlet tile down here. It still needs to come out another 6 inches, but you can see there's water trickling there up to the heart of our Y. I think we'll actually bring this outlet down almost to these other 2 flags. It's going to end up. So we come up here. This is where the Y will be placed it keeps caving in, so we're gonna have to work fast. Dig that out, get some gravel on the bottom, get the Y in there with pieces started on each of 3 sides, and then get some gravel over the top of it. But got our pattern out there, our pattern out there. Our laterals might not go quite that far. They might go farther. It just depends on what we're seeing for water. You know, as we go over here, I stopped even short of my flags because we're getting out on the, really on the knob of that ridge, so we don't see a lot of flow coming in there. We're either going to have it or we're not, just above the wet area in the field. Okay, now we've got the trench all dug out. We're about to bury the tee. Got it set up. Now we'll start digging down 30 inches from the surface here. Okay, we laid the pipe in at the tee. We poured some gravel on it. I wasn't able to stop when we got there because it would just backfilling in. Get to 30 inches, and before I get the pipe down, the ground would sort of raise up to 24. But now I think I'm down with my bottom on 30 inches. Time to start backfilling this hole before we lose more of the bank. All right, so here we are. We're seriously about 3 hours worth of labor into this project so far. Got the tee buried. It's touch and go to get the bank filled up so it didn't undercut and slump this whole shoulder. So we didn't pause much there. Now what I'm doing is going along and I'm just digging, getting down to 30. I want my pipes to be laying on about 30 inches. So I dig down to about 32. I hit water there at about 29 inches, which I think is perfect. I pour in some gravel along the side. I step about a foot of the pipe down, maybe 18 inches. Pour gravel over the top and keep going. So we come to the other end of the pipe, and even with just maybe the tee and seriously just 5 feet of pipe buried, we've got flow at the bottom of our pipe. The pipe extends farther than it's eventually going to, and so it's up clumped on grass, and so that's pretty good flow. Be interesting to see what we get when we finish it. Okay, we've got the pipe all laid. One more scoop of gravel. I think we'll have her. We'll start filling in the top. There we are. It's one day's work, about 7 hours. A nice group of folks showed up at the end. Big blast digging pretty quick. We get this pipe cut back, neck it down, and get it into a water trough in the next few days. Check in then. Got flow, that's awesome.